Hey there, welcome to the channel, and you are checking out my Stam Warden PvP build for Somerset. This build is pretty different than the usual Stam Warden. We're not using two-hand or dual-wield as our main offense. This is actually a bow build for the Stamina Warden, so something a little bit different. I just wanted to try it out and see how it worked. And after trying it, it actually works pretty dang good. So thought I would put together a build video. So we're going to go ahead and go through the stats, the skills, the sets, and more, so stay tuned. Alright, here we go. Let's check out some stats first. So about 10k max magicka, 15k health, goes up to about 20,000 in PvP, and then 36,000 stamina. Magicka health recovery, we're not really worried about. Stamina recovery is not bad at 1890. With our potion, that does go up to over 2,000, so that's right where we want to be on stamina build. The weapon damage, 2,600, goes up to just about 3,000 when we're fully buffed. The weapon critical will go up with a potion as well. I don't have the right potion on me right now, but that'll jump up to almost 50%. And then physical and spell resistance coming in at 16,000, and crit resistance 1,600 right there. We went with most points into stamina. I put 3 into health just to get me over 20k. We're using the Warrior Mundus to bring up that weapon damage. Dubious Cameron Throne is the drink because we did want to hit that over 2,000 stamina recovery. So we needed that, and it's also needed for one of our sets. And then lastly, in terms of race, I went with the Nord here. Nord is pretty cool for Stamina Warden because you already get minor protection, 8% damage reduction on one of your abilities, and then you basically amp that with the Nord's damage reduction passive. So if you want to be more tanky and more survivable, Nord is the best way to go. You also get bonus health recovery as a Nord, so that's cool. But you could also go Orc for more of a damage dealing approach. You could even be Redguard if you're concerned about sustain. You could go with Khajiit if you wanted more critical. You could go with Wood Elf if you wanted more recovery. So race is pretty open to your preference on this build, I think. Okay, so checking out the sets next on the build. We're going with the Spriggans 5-piece, first of all, so this is really good for any kind of stamina bow build. You've got max stam, weapon damage, and then physical penetration. Really good for just making sure all of your attacks hit as hard as possible. So we're running that on the bow, and then 3 pieces on the body. So we're doing bow, and then belt, legs, and feet. So that's the first 5-piece. And then the second 5-piece is Bone Pirate. This just gives us a ton of stamina and a ton of recovery. Really, really good for Stamina Warden builds. Doesn't matter if you're doing ranged or melee type of build, Bone Pirate is awesome. With this, we could put a lot more into our weapon damage on our glyphs and still have a good amount of max stamina and recovery. So Bone Pirate was the second set, and then the final set, the monster set, is going to be Troll King. This is just our survivability on the stamina class. It's really important in Somerset. Now with things like Slodes, this is really going to help you survive in PvP, especially in Battlegrounds. As far as glyphs, I went with Impen and well-fitted, so a mixture of both. A little bit more well-fitted, so like 4 well-fitted is good on this build because we are doing a lot of roll dodging and a lot of sprinting. So I would say 4 well-fitted, 3 Impen is kind of ideal. You can swap that if you want. As far as the jewelry glyphs, we did 2 weapon damage here and 1 stamina recovery. And then I did do 1 infused glyph on this gold piece of jewelry. So I'm getting a little bit extra weapon damage there. If I had another gold jewelry piece for Bone Pirate, I probably would do infused there as well. But I would not recommend that unless you do have a gold piece of Bone Pirate, because you'll get the maximum benefit out of the infused trait with your weapon damage. In that case, if you don't do that, then just the regular robust is fine. But the fact that we are using Bone Pirate means our stamina is already really, really high, and we can sacrifice a couple of robust glyphs in order to get more weapon damage. I think it's worth it. And then in terms of the back bar here, we've got a two-hander, and you can go with any two-hander that you want. This is similar to my Nightblade bow build, where we don't have any offensive abilities on the back bar on the two-hander, so defending is a good trait in this case. And then you can also run any two-piece here that you want, so I went with Seducer. Gives me a little bit more Magicka recovery on the back bar, where I have all of my magic abilities. And then in terms of the front bar trait for the bow, you can go with Infused. I like this because it reduces the cooldown on my big poison damage proc there to every 2 seconds. So every 2 seconds I'll be getting that 4,500 poison damage. You can also go with Nirnhound for a little bit more weapon damage. That'll amp your other abilities. So Nirnhound or Infused, either way, will be good for this build. Okay, and now we're getting into the abilities where it gets interesting. So what does a bow build look like on the Warden? Basically, it's really similar to the Nightblade Archer Assassin build that I have on my channel, with the difference being instead of doing the cloak and shade kind of sneaky playstyle, we're going more of a bursty playstyle with the same kind of survivability, but just different. Okay, so a lot of the bow skills are the same. You'll see Poison Injection here as the first skill. This is damage over time. Does really good execute damage, so make sure you get this on all your targets. That'll help them die. Lethal Arrow is our main spammable ability, and does a nice big chunk of damage from a range. Also does the Major Defile, so reduces their healing received, really nice. We've got Drain Shot. This is a bow stun as well as a heal. So since we don't have a burst heal on the build, I went with the healing morph. Draining Shot, I think it's really good. In addition to that, we've got Cutting Dive, which is just a quick spammable. So your Lethal Arrow, you want to open your burst with this, but then if they have just a little bit of health left and you don't want to wait that 1 second for the cast time, you can pop a couple of these birds, mix those in with your infused light attack from the bow, and that's usually enough to finish people off. And then our last normal skill here is Sub Assault, and this does a ton of damage. It also does Major Fracture, so it reduces their physical resistance. And this is going to be part of our burst combo. So you have basically a 3-second arming time that lets you do this first, into a Lethal Arrow, and then a Poison Injection and a light attack, and you can basically have all of those abilities hit at the same time. It's pretty disgusting, actually. But those are the front bar bow skills. We also have Flawless Dawnbreaker, so this increases your weapon damage by up to 5%, and then with our Fighter's Guild passives, we'll get an extra 3%, so once I have this maxed out, it'll be an 8% weapon damage boost, and then it's just nice for when you're in front of a group of people, you get that nice AoE burst, and actually this combined with Sub Assault, you can do some nice AoE pressure on this build as well. Switching now to the back bar, this is our defensive and buff bar, so we've got Shimmering Shield, and this is really what makes the build work as far as staying alive. I think that's why the Warden can pretty much match the Nightblade as far as bow builds, because you do have this nice damage shield. It did get a cost increase, but I think it's still manageable. And look at how much damage it absorbs, 23,000 damage, it's crazy. And it also gives us Major Heroism, so more Ultimate Generation, more Dawnbreakers, it's really good. Bird of Prey, this is our minor Berserk, so another reason why this is really strong is you get 8% damage done for 10 seconds, minor berserk. It keeps this build in line with the Nightblade. Both classes get minor berserk. It really makes it work on a bow build, I think. It also gives us movement speed, so when we're closing the distance, you'll want to pop this buff up, and then before you go into your burst, make sure it's up as well, so you get that 8% extra damage done. Resolving Vigor is our heal over time. You'll want to use this anytime you start to take damage. It is a heal over time though, so it won't burst your health back up. That's where you want to combine this with your bow heal, and then also your potion and your Troll King. Then we've got Forward Momentum. This is our Major Brutality, 20% weapon damage. A nice little heal. You might think the heal is almost nothing, but the good thing about this is if you have this buff all the time, if you have it up all the time, which you should, this will help proc our Troll King set. So even if you don't have time to like pop a Vigor or a bow heal, this will trigger Troll King, and it'll be enough even to keep you alive in some cases. So really good to have this up all the time. And then also when you're about to engage or go through some snares, pop this, you'll get that extra snare immunity, and it'll also get you out of mobilizations. Really good. Ice Fortress, I mentioned this in the intro. This is really good for defensive, and you get that 8% minor protection bonus. We're combining that with the Nord, so we're really tanky, really survivable with this. And then just in case you get into some extra trouble, we've got the Healing Ultimate here, Healing Thicket. It's a 6-second duration with a 4-second heal after that ends, so about a 10-second heal over time with a nice burst heal at the beginning. This is really good, again, for keeping you alive. Combining that with your Vigor, combining that with a heal from the bow, you'll be able to stay alive in most cases. In terms of passives then, just really quickly, you want everything from Animal Companions. You get a nice heal off your Cliff Racer. Whenever that's done, you get 1260 health back. You get some ultimate as well whenever you fire those off. That applies to the Subterranean Assault as well. And then Flourish, this is really important. 12% Magicka and Stamina recovery is huge on this build. We really need it. And that means that you need to have an Animal Companion ability slotted on both bars. Okay, so that's why we have our 2 damaging abilities here on the front bar, and then we have our buff, Bird of Prey, on the back bar. So we've got that recovery active, 12% on both bars. We get a nice little increase of damage done as well for having those 2 Animal Companion abilities on the front bar. Here you're not really using a lot of these. The main one that you'll be using is Maturation, so you get that minor toughness anytime you heal yourself. So an increase of 10% max health, that's really good. Most of these other passes we're not using. You'll get some on Healing Thicket though, so you will get Major Mending if your health drops low enough. You'll get some magic or stamina back. So overall, these abilities are not that great for stamina. I felt like they didn't do a lot of healing at all, so that's why we're going with the bow heal and then Vigor on the back bar. Here you want to grab all these passives, more like defensive kind of stuff. Make sure you grab all your bow passives, medium armor passives, the Fighters Guild passives like we said. You'll get 3% weapon damage on your Flawless Dawnbreaker. And then obviously race passives, and then medicinal use is really important. Like I said, we're using the health, weapon crit, and stamina potions. And then just checking out the champion points really quickly. I do play this mostly in Battlegrounds, so I won't say this is the perfect allocation of CP, but this would work pretty well for the most part. So 1 in Siphoner, 31 Warlord, 33 Sprinter, 64 Mooncalf, 27 Arcanist, 19 Healthy. Nothing in Tenacity here because bow heavy attacks are a little bit clunky, and sustain really isn't too much of an issue We did put some healthy into here to help with Troll King, and we do have that health recovery bonus for a Nord, so just kind of playing off of those, amping those a little bit. 1 and Befoul, 37 Tumbling, 37 Shadow Ward, 19 Blessed, 31 Physical Weapon, 56 Master at Arms, 11 Shattering Blows, 11 into Thaumaturge, 28 Precise Strikes, 38 Piercing, 56 into Mighty, and then we've got 51 into Ironclad, 35 Resistant, 56 into Hardy, 43 Elemental, 34 into Thick-Skinned, and then 16 in Expert Defender, and 15 into Quick Recovery. Okay, so just a little quick review of the burst combo here. So obviously you want to keep your buffs up. You've got Forward Momentum and Ice Fortress. Keep those up all the time. And then your Bird of Prey. This is for when you're moving between areas on the map. That gives you major expedition, so that's really good. And then you also want to pop it right before you go offensive, because that's your Minor Berserk buff. Okay, so here are 2 main buffs, and then Minor Berserk, and then we go into our offensive combo. So the first ability that we always use is going to be Subterranean Assault. This has a 3-second cast time, and it has a pretty big range, but you do have to aim it. Okay, so it doesn't go off a target, it goes off the aim of your character in the game. So that is a little bit tricky. You do have to get used to it a little bit, and you can miss. The range is about here to get that to hit. Okay, so that's something you do want to practice. Practice doing it from different angles, coming up at different speeds. So that's our first ability, Subterranean Assault. From there, you want to combine that with a light attack and a lethal arrow, and try to get those to hit at about the same time. So that goes with Sub-Assault, light attack, lethal arrow. You can see those hit at all the same time. One more time, Sub-Assault, light attack, lethal arrow. There we go. On top of that, we're going to do another light attack, poison injection. Okay, so it gets a little bit tricky. The way this works, and this works actually on any bow build, is your lethal arrow. When you do a lethal arrow, you can do a light attack. There's a light attack. And a poison injection, and get those all to land at the same time with your weapon enchant. So lethal arrow, light attack, poison injection. You can see that's 4 damage sources right there. That's what it would look like. Lethal arrow, light attack, poison injection. And then obviously on the Warden we just want to combine that with the Sub-Assault first. So it would look kind of like that. Everything should go off about the same time. Huge burst damage, as you can see right there. If you are really good, this is something you can work on, is just making sure your Sub-Assault hits a little bit, like a millisecond before everything else. Because remember, that does do major fracture, so it'll let your other bow abilities hit a little bit harder if you can delay it just enough so that the Sub-Assault hits first. Something that I still got to work on. But yeah, that's the main combo. Remember, you do have your Dawnbreaker as well, so if they're really low, pop that. Maybe do a couple of birds and light attacks. That's what those are for, just to finish people off. And then in terms of defense, you've got your stun. So you can always stun and then go into your shield. This is great if you're facing any kind of Magicka class, just to absorb those projectiles, and you get the major heroism as well. Pop your heal, do some roll dodges, get rid of any snares, go around the corner, and the survivability should be really good once you get it down. Alright guys, that's gonna do it for the Stamina Warden PvP bow build for Somerset. Hope you liked it. Thanks to everybody recently who has subscribed to the channel. I appreciate you, I appreciate the feedback. You guys are awesome. If you have questions or you want to see something else, let me know in the comments. And hey, if you haven't subscribed yet, why the heck not? Hit that subscribe button. and keep an eye out for more videos in the future. So until then, I will see you around. Peace.